Chapter 9. Stronger. The sensation flowing through Erix and calling it an overflowing power would be an underestimate, and felt as if he had broken through something akin to a thin layer of a metaphysical glass shattering upon his evolution, looking through the world and sensing its profound truth, where the fundamentals of the world became a pre-existing set of code to be rewritten in his command. It was as if he became a programmer, allowing him to change the algorithm of the universe. But at the moment, he was akin to a junior developer, given how complex it appears to be. He uses his senses to look at himself, and finds that the form he was in didn't remain stagnant, constantly changing, where only the overall outline and definite features remained, like the horns and eyes. Erix could see the crown on his head and the spear in his hands, as he continued to hear the voice of the world. The Divine Class Spear of Eradication had become the God Mythical Class. Divine Class Shorma Shirtle Armor Set had become God Mythical Class. World Item Crown of the Crimson Monarch had become God Mythical Class. Erix was a bit taken aback by the notification, pondering if this is how the world of Tensura functions or because he is an anomaly, but he didn't think too hard because it's convenient and more focused on the classes. In Yggdrasil, the equipment is ranked from low, medium, high, top, legacy, relic, legendary, and divine. While Tensura items are ranked from normal, special, rare, unique, legend, god, and genesis rank. And I made the 7-phase view into a genesis class, since I think it's only fair. God and divine, does that mean they are basically the same rank? Nay, master. He paused, hearing a feminine voice in his head that was rather pleasant, similar to the Rani from the Elder Rings. Erix immediately realized this was his Manus skill that he obtained after evolution, since it was the only logical explanation. He knew that his item, which had been with him and been fighting to protect him, was sentient and made him incredibly happy. Though he pondered why his armor didn't gain an ego, he thought it might be due to the fact that it was so attached to him that it basically became his skin. Between Aaron and Amaya, who was the one who spoke? That would be Aaron, master. My name is Amaya, given to me by you during evolution. Another voice, close yet far from the previous tone, is more firm yet sadistic. It has this elegant and charismatic tone, similar to battle-hardened generals. Erix was a bit confused and said, "Shouldn't I be the one to have named you?" "You already did." Erix rubbed his chin, and indeed, he called them by name since he grew attached to them. He named the crown of the Crimson Monarch Aaron, meaning as high as honor, and the spear of the eradication, Amaya, as it means the end. "Ah, I thought I needed to name you again, but that's rather convenient. Any difference between you two?" "Well, I'm not as informative as her since I'm a weapon. My purpose and duty are to show the might of our master and assist you in battle as we disembowel and slaughter them. That is why I must ask master, when shall we begin our conquest?" He wasn't surprised that the weapon that had been feared by players across all servers would cause this blood craze. There was once a time when a player tried to isolate himself, and he was left alone against over a dozen other players who were close to the top 50 of the unified ranks. They even sacrificed world-class items to weaken him, but that day became a reminder of what kind of player he was, having slaughtered all of them with mid-difficulty as somewhere troublesome. The reason he won was due to his race, where the stronger his enemies are, the stronger he becomes. He fought through all of them, and even those who tried to escape were not spared. Erix could vividly remember what they had said to him at that time. "Give up, Erix. You are surrounded." They all looked at him and spoke with confidence, yet Erix could not be easily fooled at that time. He prepared himself for battle by summoning his weapon and saying, "All I am surrounded by is fear. And dead men." It was the moment where he was not trapped with them, but they were trapped with him. Needless to say, the developer had a hard time explaining how he didn't cheat and fought them with a large handicap. "Soon, I'm eager to fight someone strong, but it would be foolish to fight without properly gauging the strength of our enemy." In addition, the effect of his race was to memorize and precisely analyze the player, which allowed him to exploit some of their weaknesses. The Yggdrasil follows a strict and balanced gameplay, but the new world does not have the same liberty, so his enemy could be stronger. "I understand, master. Our priority is your safety over what we desire." "Good to know." Back on topic, why are God and Divine class not the same? Legend class is the same in the new world, but Divine class would be a transition to God class. Re is the one estimated class of the items that did compare to Yggdrasil. It all depends on the effect, which means the class can change. Normal equals low, medium, and high. Special equals top. Rare equals legacy. Unique equals relic. Legend equals legendary. Divine class. God class. World item. Genesis class. Erix found her voice and way of speaking to be rather strange, but didn't think any of it. He focuses more on the item class, and how he has roughly 200 world items that can likely turn into a Genesis class, but he pondered if upgrading a world class to a Genesis class is all based on chances. When I upgraded the 7-phase view into Genesis class, did it happen by chance? It's because it's an anomaly, and the world compensating yawn did allow it to become a Genesis class. Master, thou art unlikely to be able to upgrade every W'(RLD class item, as the current conditions need to be met. Unfortunately, they haven't me and can easily increase your chances. And use a Shakespearean translator if you want to understand it. I just like it this way to have a unique way of speaking and showing her personality. Her enthusiastic voice made him chuckle, and he didn't feel disappointed, knowing that there are still loopholes that can be exploited, and that he only needed to follow his intuition. He already anticipated that it was too good to be true, and didn't try upgrading his weapon when it upgraded when he evolved, which meant he didn't need to waste the world-class item to wish for it. If that's the case, then can you tell me anything new about me? Beside being handsome, Master, you've gained all the racial traits of a true dragon and a spiritual life form. In terms of raw power, you can easily redo your previous raid with low difficulty. The odds correct, with the help of your universal senses and true dragon hockey, you can decimate your foe. Additionally, they've gotten 2 ultimate arts beyond what meant the behopeful requirement to become one. Can you tell me what the skill is? I prepared a list, Master. Ultimate skill. Lord of Despair, Kark. Merciless effect. Ruthless effect. Every strike multiplies by 20%. Plundering skills, can steal skill effect. Freely manipulate emotion, life, death, soul, and law. Lord of Dark Magic, Mephistopheles. Instant mastery in magic. Act like a magic breeder. Endless mana. Cast any magic without incantation. Allows you to see through falsehood. Can bargain and exchange anything for the same price, even concepts. However, the same price is needed. Erix's countless eyes widen upon learning the effect of his skill, which essentially makes him a god. He gave out maniacal laughter that shook the entire Nazareth, alarming the floor guardian, but immediately informing them about the situation and resuming their task. Truly an amazing thing. I'll test my strength in the training room later. For now, tell me what happened to my armor. It became part of you, Master. You can freely reshape it however you wish. Forsooth, thy arms had shriek at a new level of power and gains a number of effects. Tell me about them. Shorma Shirtle armor set. Can reshape into any form. Can grow stronger along with the owner. Increase experience gained by 10x. When the person is at 10% health, he will be invincible for 10 seconds. Induce despair in people with ill intent and entice any female. Soulbound to Erix Khan. When paired with the Spear of Eradication and Crown of Crimson, all stats increase by 50%. All summons and subordinates gain a 50% increase in all stats when supporting the owner. And of all things, skill. Standeth before me, beareth witness F''R the 7 days of Armageddon. Incantation. An attack that debuffs the enemy regardless of defense by 70%. Inflicted by Crimson Thorn, it causes weaker beings to be under his command, turning them into mindless beasts. Chapter 10. Legal Wife. Erix was pleasantly surprised at the sight of each effect provided by his skills and equipment. He already notices it rapidly changing his way of thinking and adapting to the change, as he is able to freely manipulate the fundamentals of the world like tissue paper. Erix only needed to reignite the newly acquired amber, in order for him to set ablaze and be enveloped by flames of power. Frankly, at this point, his chances against Sky Crimson have increased, but the other floor guardian and his home would be affected if he acted on his own. He hardly cared for others when sacrificing them over his home. Erix tried to summon his spear and a viscous blood-like substance. It came out of his hand and solidified into a crimson-red spear. Unlike the crown that remained on his head after his transformation, giving him kingly splendor, the spear shifted and hid in his body. Was everything to your liking, Master? Yeah, I'm also curious if you enjoyed the power you wield, Master. Yes, however, it is best to remain on high alert, rather than blindly feeling this newfound power. I am in control, not my power. Erix sharply said, knowing that he could become too foolish and chaotic when he let his power poison his ego. He needs to consider every possibility to ensure the highest percentage of success. Honestly, do you act as an AI that knows everything or just assist what I know? Beyond would speaks the case, Master. I can't gain information that you know not. My own task is to make everything easy and provide a better result. In other words, she's able to help you analyze information rather easily and assist in making the most of your situation. Frankly, I can provide some insight into war and conquest, since anything related to battle is my expertise. Erix pondered who set their personalities, but how he had used them and viewed each of them, told him that it wasn't strange, since a crown is for a leader and a weapon for a commander. One leads, while the other commands. You two are soul-bound to me, correct? Does that mean you two are aware of the truth? We do, Master, but fret not, it does not matter to us. What's important is our service to you. Betrayal wouldn't cross our minds, and we agree with your decision, as those fools are happy where they are. It's best to not have any nuisance to your plan for conquest. Speaking of conquest, I've prepared plans for the future and am most wondrous to adapt to our new surroundings. Gathering information already began, but hopeful bold actions are currently needed. Agree, we should quickly adapt, but bold actions are needed. If we remain acting as defenseless animals, then progress would be out of our reach. Erix understands their words, knowing that focusing on their presence and taking too long to hide would stagnate their progress. However, taking into consideration what kind of being their enemy means, the best course of action is to remain hidden until enough information is gathered. That is a given. Demiurge and Albedo are already formulating their own plans for me. Gibril, despite her antics, is next to being the smartest NPC, since I made sure of it. For now, it's best if I test my strength and how far I can go. He agreed, acknowledging his words, and began to resize himself to human size. He was still 3 meters tall and held the spear, spinning it around, preparing himself. He already knew that his summoning worked splendidly when he made the Knuckle of E, but he pondered the other monster that he could summon. Aaron, can I summon every monster from Yggdrasil, and is it possible to summon a demon here? Also, do you have to spend experience points when creating higher level monsters? Because of the ultimate skill. Lord of Dark Mage, Mephistopheles, you are allowed to summon any creature from Yggdrasil and co-equal in this world. At which hour the ultimate skill had Steph'(RMT gave it the every known magic yond exists within the world. And experience would not be spent since he hasn't me, but specific spell would still require sacrifice. Monster, elemental, angels, you name it, you got it without spending experience, master. Only super tier and complicated summoning requires sacrifice. Erix was a mage, summoner, and spell user, which made him a force to be reckoned with. He was jack of all trades, master of all, but only reached it when people called him a madman. I think that is enough. Well, for now, let's test my technique as a spear user. He took a stance and took a deep breath, churning the power around him, letting the world pass through him that followed his thoughts and intentions, and trusting his weapon without using any skill. He managed to send a massive wave of exploding power that destroyed part of him. How much was that? It is 2% of your base power attack, master. Erix was a bit surprised and pondered if the world itself was the reason why it felt easier and less restricted, or because it was due to having ascended and evolved into a higher being, becoming a spiritual life form. He anticipated that the world would reject him and readjust to ensure the balance wouldn't collapse. Erix knows, or rather theorizes, that each world has a will similar to a counterforce that dislikes its rules being altered, but concludes it is because the world has recognized him and his allies as native. However, it doesn't explain why his power was that strong. Why is my power strong? The reason is because the master is a true demon dragon that embodies a concept about becoming a spiritual life form. For example, Vildor represents a storm and tempest, while Veldanava represents the star and cosmos. And you represent and embody Armageddon. Furthermore, it is not because of me that your power is this strong, and by using me, your strike would increase several folds. Erix grinned upon hearing that his power and concept gave him overwhelming power. He pondered how far his power went and asked Aaron for more information. Can you give me a better description of the extent of being a living embodiment of Armageddon? The master is able to control the final force, the one that causes all of existence to end. That power does not mean those powers need to necessarily destroy, they just end a universal cycle, making the representation of Ander Omega. Those powers can truly tamper with the eternal power of existence, and terminate any universal cycle, creating absolute chaos. This meant Yuan-Ti can end at something co-equal concept using thy ultimate skill, Lord of Despair, Karg. In other words, a power to end anything. Seriously, sister, why speak in such a manner? It is rather difficult to understand you. Surely thou jest at which hour thee can translate it quite easily at which hour we are linking to our master. Still, it feels rather troublesome to translate it for others to understand. What does this mean? Only master can hear thus. You never know, but guess it can't be helped. Apologies, master, for sounding annoying in your head. It's fine, and I rather enjoyed the company. Though, please refrain from reading my thoughts that are private matters unless you decide to become my woman. We art, as thy second and third legal wives, it is our duty to attend thee and become females. We scoured your memory and picked what we thought to be appropriate. I've gotten my new body and made my own adjustments. A perfect image of what kind of woman I am. Fufu. Second and first. Erix never pointed to a first legal wife, since he hadn't begun his conquest with the woman in Nazark, but believed that it was appropriate that they had this position. However, he found it strange that they started second rather than first. Is the first legal wife? We do not know and only have their name. Our Devi. Erix muttered under his breath, having understood she was someone connected to him after learning she's the one who brought him there, and was pleased that she was part of his harem. He's never met her yet, but if she's willing to help, then Erix will make sure to repay everything once they meet. Second and third don't sound that bad. And we still task you with organizing your woman and bed warmers. Chapter 11. Other forms. Erix experimented more with his basic stats from simple strikes and swings, having his body move on its own, as if he had done it over 1,000 times. Back in Yggdrasil, he never wasted an opportunity to get stronger and better, having sharpened his technique, despite how the game restricted its realism. Having transferred into the new world allowed him to feel more alive, and his blood was craving a battle. Normally, the game gave him a pre-existing movement set that let the character move, but now Erix had the freedom to act without sticking to a specific move set. He tested his power, noticing how everything came natural with Aaron helping in his control over the skill and magic, where he made an isolated pocket dimension that is weaker than Source of Overvoid, Einsof, but enough for him to let loose a bit without being noticed. He can even manipulate the time within the dimension with ease, and has decided to use it for training. Though simply training wouldn't do any breakthrough, considering they still need to fight strong opponents to improve themselves and overcome their limits. Erix made his floor his personal training ground, and used his power to fix the damage. He took a distance away from the main building before testing the limits of his power for several hours at time dilution. If I were to go all out, how strong is attack potency? Based on what we know, thou art comparables at least weaker to Mlim in terms of thy attack's potency. However, this is only considering the damage done by your attack, and not your overall skill and power. If you were to fight Mlim, then she has an edge on how much destruction is produced, but with your vast arsenal, you would surely ensure your victory. Unfortunately, this is only an assumption based on your memories. He understood that Mlim is simply too powerful when she's 10x stronger than Guy using her ultimate skill. Erix knew that Mlim fights like a barbarian who only focuses on offense, and rather childish things that can easily be persuaded and manipulated, but he couldn't easily rule out the fact that Mlim is still an experienced fighter, and looks can be deceiving. In the end, careful planning and manipulation would guarantee his success against Mlim, but fighting head-on against her would be foolish. That's how it is. Now then, I'm eager to see my dragon form and wonder if my power increases once I turn into my dragon form. It does amplify your power to several degrees, like before in Yggdrasil. From my own estimate, it would be around 10x the increase, and it did stick over your already amplified strength. In simple terms, mastering the true dragon form increases your overall power to 10x as it removes restrictions. Great, let's begin. Erix took deep breaths and concentrated, turning into scarlet energy shimmering in its brilliant lights, as it became malleable and reshaping itself into an elongated form. A few moments later, Erix's transformation ended, revealing a large, serpentine, red-skinned, black-bellied dragon with spikes running down its body. Its wings are bat-like in form, with 2 thumb claws. His head has 2 mouths. The bottom jaw of the smaller top set is part of the top jaw of the larger set. The last tooth on each cheek is larger than the others. His head is created with 4 spikes protruding horizontally, and 2 larger ones from the back of the head curving vertically. A ruby is nestled at the front of the crest. Its tail crest is shaped in a similar manner, but with a single flattened spike at the tip, rather than 2 spikes. He has short limbs and 3 toed feet. He exhaled, giving a puff of smoke while his eyes remained close, yet his presence radiated unparalleled power to the point where even the strongest being could feel the dread. His eyes suddenly shut open, revealing golden eyes that glinted like gems, before he took a deep breath before letting out a thundering roar that shattered the barrier that he had set with his magic. Amaze. My form earlier was insane, but this form it's unreal. My form kind of looks like Slifer from Yu-Gi-Oh! Erix felt his new form to be natural, and the form was unable to wield his spear like normally, but his magic and skill were off the chart at how powerful it was. He resumed his training and tested his new form, noticing how easy it was when using his power. The only downside is his size, but he can easily alter it. The other floor guardians were informed not to be disturbed, and to only contact them through voice message. He ended soon after the outside time each few hours, and gauged himself as he transformed into his human form. That didn't change beside his armor but looked more organic than before, akin to a symbiote. Erix receives a message from Sebas after gaining everything from the goblins that they captured. Sebas, bring them here as I wish to test something, and also, please inform any maids to bring some snacks and refreshments. It will be done, my lord. Is there any specific thing you wish to have today? Some wine and steak. Sebas didn't say any more and gave his farewell while Erix began to move into his home, but before any of that, he told Aaron and Amaya to transform into their human form, instructing him on how to do it via creating a summon, which he did by creating 2 simple doppelgangers, and soon felt a power go into the doppelganger, as it began reshaping itself while it was in a kneeling position. When the transformations were finished, Erix was able to see their features more clearly, and was a bit taken aback by their chosen form. They both emanate a charismatic and enticing aura, yet one was more calming and calculative, while the other was ruthless and merciless. The calm one was a young woman with long black hair and chocolate-tanned skin, that had perfectly shaped proportions, and was well endowed in her bosom and rear, noticeable despite kneeling. The said hair had a yellowish-orange color, and her eyes had a black sclera with black holes like her eyes. The ruthless one was another young woman with her hair completely red in color. It falls down to about waist length. She wears a large red cape again, and a golden piece that was part of her hat is now part of her cape, and even larger in size. Her body is covered in sleek black armor that shows the curve of her bust and the shape of her legs. Art thee surprised, master? We've chosen a body fit for your chase. Frankly, I do enjoy the sight of this body of mine. The two appeared like Black Hole Chan fan art and Demon King Oda Nobunaga. Erix narrowed his gaze, looked down at them, and muttered. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. Come and follow me. Erix walked past them, and the two followed beside him, where they went into the inner sanctum of his home, which was amazingly vast, where many commodities were there, pools and gardens, and a small library that had more stories from manga records that he had placed. He encountered the abyssal monster, which was a shadowy beast similar to a slime, but had a tar-like body. They arrived at the balcony with a full view of the sea of clouds, and sat down to relax, while also creating an outline for their plans. Erix thought about potential servants like Diablo and other primordials. Diablo, Carrere, Testarossa, Ultima, and other demon should give me more military prowess. I should send spies on countries to see how their overall military strength is, and if I can steal it or destroy them. He lay enjoying the scenery while discussing with Aaron and Amy the new world and their plans for the future. A few minutes later, Sebas, followed by the goblins, and a maid brought a food tray. The dragonoid noticed the unknown individual, and Erix informed him who they were, which surprised him, but he didn't press any further, trusting his lord completely, and kneeled down before him. Erix sat on a self-made throne while Aaron and Amias stood beside him to show that he was the ruler. The image of a leader needs to be emphasized to ensure that they are not belittled anyway. He gestured to the maid for the food and placed it on the circular table, revealing a freshly cooked steak that was made from the highest quality of meat. In Yggdrasil, players were also given the necessity of food and water for a bit more realism, but it didn't have any taste because of the developers' fear of making the player unable to distinguish reality from the game, and would fall into depravity eating food in the game. The maid poured some wine while Erix dug into the meal while everyone was waiting for him to speak. Erix took a bite of the steak and was immediately amazed at the taste. This is delicious. It oozes with juice and flavor. Ah, what bliss. Erix thought while remaining stoic while eating, where only Aaron and Ame knew what he was thinking. Sebas, begin your report on what you learn. Do not leave any detail, no matter how trivial it may be. Chapter 12. Servitude. He expected less from what the old goblin provided, having learned a bit in regards to the current situation within the new world. Mentioning that Worgen Kingdom confirmed that he was within the Central Axis world, which was enough for him to use as a proper outline of what the world's situation is. Erix needed to consider his action, knowing the cause and effect once he took action, since his enemy wouldn't sit still, and let a potential enemy grow. In the end, Erix was happy at what he had gained and finished his meal, looking at the two goblins who remained stricken with fear. If he didn't know about their future, he would have disposed of them without hesitation, but turning them into subordinates would provide more force to Nazarick, and he was curious about something. He can create familiars and wondered if he could turn another race into his summon, like turning a goblin into a vampire, like in Monster and other monsters that he can create. Erix thought of possibly making 8 demon generals and 12 demon warlords like in Monster. Interesting. The information may be few, but it would have a big impact on our course of action. Sebas. Yes, Lord. In the next 3 days or so from now, I would like for you to visit the Worgen Kingdom and gather as much information as you can. Do not take action that may result in exposing Nazarick. It will be done, my lord. Bring Narble Gamma and Yuri Alpha with you. Erix said he's planning on visiting them because he's confident that Sebas can handle the situation and know what he's dealing with. He aims to turn the dwarfs into his puppets by manipulating their minds and believing that they are his servants. Though it was a way that they wouldn't even know that they're under his control, and think it was their action and free will to ensure the benefits and safety of Nazarick. He needs to send out some monster that can mind control them, and he decided to do it when he visits. Erix could entice them with a potion deal and get the chance to brainwash the king. Essa is also useful even when he is introduced, but it is easy to change him. Nazarick has some NPC monsters that do research, but they have Yggdrasil knowledge, and having a local would prove useful for them. Erix stood up from his throne, letting the maid clean his plate while he spoke. You two, raise your heads. Erix's baritone and firm voice rang out while the two goblins shaking, immediately raised their heads. I've received something from you and can see your potential in me. Therefore, I wish for you to submit yourself, including every single goblin under you, to my command, and to be loyal to me without question. Do you accept or do you wish to perish against my conquest? We submit to you, Great One. Every single goblin would do anything to serve someone as powerful as you. We will do everything to be of use to you. Then kowtow once more while Erix nodded and raised his hands. Then I, Erix Khan, Crimson Monarch and eternal ruler of the great tomb of Nazarick, shall accept your allegiance to me. From now on, you two shall be called Rigord and Rigor. Erix spoke in a way that gave a more theatrical feel, knowing that it gave more meaning and acted as a ceremony, showing the weight of it. Though he can't deny it was a bit of his uni self. Moments later, he heard the notification and felt a piece of his blessing them with a name, watching the two evolve into goblins only to see something different, and noticing that they appeared more robust and flowing with power. Overall, their appearance didn't change from the anime, but they had tattoos similar to Monster evolution. Why do they look different? That is because of your blessing, Master. The world is the one who recognizes you as the Armageddon true dragon, who are essentially gods, and you gave them divine protection that changed their race. You've become a god the moment you evolved into a true dragon. Rigurd and Rigor are currently hobgoblin lords. Erix was amazed at what he had learned and looked at the two creatures who were essentially naked, quickly snapping his finger to provide simple clothes, surprising them, and immediately kneeling down, crying out tears of joy, while Sebas and the maid were amazed at what they witnessed. Enough, we still need to visit your village, as they shall be the building blocks for the empire I wish to create. Remember that you've sworn your allegiance to me, which means that anything that you have belongs to me, and I hate for what's mine to be damaged or stolen. You don't have the greatest gratitude. Rigurd exclaimed while Erix nodded and Sebas spoke up. My lord, don't tell me you intend to leave without assistance. The atmosphere dropped, and everyone except Eren and Amaya could feel the pressure that suddenly came as Erix spoke with a normal tone, yet it was clear he was angry or something. Sebas, it is fine. I am neither a fool nor a child that needs to be protected unless you're saying I'm weak. Erix glanced at Sebas, scaring him, and instantly apologized, fearing that, but immediately the pressure vanished, and he heard laughter. Hahaha, I was merely playing and understand your concern, but bear in mind that how can a leader rule without leading? However, to put your mind at ease, I shall contact Aura, as I believe her expertise would prove useful for taming wildlife. Erix had a reason for it, and to show that betrayal was not an option, but was fair when it came to everything. He glanced at Eren and Amaya, who nodded, returning to their true form, surprising Sebas and the maid. Before I forgot, I informed the other guardians about everything you learn about the world, especially their power system, to have a better understanding of their newfound strength. As you wish. Rigor, follow me, and once we meet with Aura, we shall head to your village. They followed behind Erix, who used Gate to transport them, contacting Aura about his plan, and she was excited, quickly meeting up at the top floor of the Great Tomb, where Aura waved at them once she saw them arrive. I didn't expect you to be on the top floor already. What were you doing earlier before we called you? I've been helping Mare scour the surroundings using our tame beast. Is that so? Well, in that case, continue mapping out the surroundings, but do make sure that we do not engage in battle if it doesn't benefit us, and only gain more enemies. I will keep that in mind, my lord. Erix nodded, patting her head, making Mare blush, and exited the tomb, looking up at the sky, amazed at how beautiful it was. His memories of his previous world, Earth, had already gone towards the fate of Overlord Earth. The sky glittered in endless starlight, and Erix subconsciously reached out, grasping the star, while Aura watched curiously. The sky is full of endless starlight jewels. How pitiful that such beauty had been poisoned by weak and entitled mortals. They forgot the age of strife and overcoming conflict. Erix muttered under his breath, unknowingly releasing pressure, but it only lasted a split second that no one noticed beside the world. He looked down, finding a tame beast that was of the Fenrir race, but completely different from the floor guardian the divine beast, Fenrir. They descended, and when he got down, he held out his hands, summoning 3 soul leaders. A summoning circle appeared, and soon skeletal horses appeared with an aura that shined a light on their chests. They are beasts made out of bones, with tendrils of fog replacing their flesh and blood. The fog sparkled everywhere, both yellow and emerald green. Hop on. Without hesitation, the 2 hobgoblin lord hop on the skeletal horse, who seem obedient and don't reject them, as the 2 seem able to adapt to riding a horse, recalling how the hobgoblin was able to ride the Tempest Wolf rather easily. Aura saw Erix hop on the soul leader and was disappointed, wanting to ride with him. Aura, come and ride with me. Let Fen follow us. Her face immediately lit up, and she quickly hopped on the horse behind Erix, where the soul leader understood the assignment and moved, forcing Aura to be surprised. She wrapped around Erix, pressing her chest into his back and letting him feel its softness. Hahaha, nice work, soul leader. Amaya laughed while Eren just giggled in the background while Erix smiled and was glad he made her older in figure, but she immediately realized what she did and let go. Ah. Sorry Lord Erix. I didn't mean to. It is fine. Anyway, let's go.